And this is intensifying. I don't know how long this can go on. And then the crazy North Korea stuff. And then the media lying and saying that I said there's Martian slave colonies of children when we were talking about, the Pope's deputy being indicted for mass kidnapping of children. I mean, it's just Twilight Zone. What would you call this period we're in right now, Paul?
I'd call it the beginning of the great meme war of summer 2017, Alex. This CNN thing today is just insane. You know that it's got them on the ropes, Alex, because you had Stelter, you had Cuomo, all the big CNN guys responding to James O'Keefe last week during that whole fracas. Today, they're not responding, apart from Cuomo. None of the other CNN bigwigs are saying anything about this. They've obviously been ordered to shut up about it. It is completely embarrassing. It's blown up in their face. The latest is the originator of this Trump meme, which CNN tried to out and threatened to out, basically threatened to blackmail him, threatened to dox him. He's not even the originator of the meme. It's actually turned out to be, by the looks of it, an anonymous guy in Mexico. So even in their complete failure, even in this blowing up in their face, they've identified the wrong person.
But Paul, that's what I said hours ago. I said my instinct is they made all this up, identified a nom de plume so they could have the person admit they were racist and evil. That was just my gut level. They're such serpents, such liars, such known scumbags. It's not speculation when it's known liars, constantly caught staging, constantly caught with fake news, $100 million lawsuits on Scaramucci, making all this crap up. That's what I said. Because the whole thing stunk of something they just made up. What do you think, Watson?
Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter who it is. They've been caught red-handed. Of course, they wanted to celebrate it as a great victory. Like they'd identified this racist, anti-Semite homophobe who Trump had used his tweet, so that they had that whole narrative cooking, completely blown up in their face. They came out with a statement after they rightfully got absolutely rinsed, even by never Trump people, even by leftist media outlets for this. They came out with a statement today, Alex, that said, quote, CNN decided not to publish the name of the Reddit user out of concern for his safety.
Oh.
But that kind of contradicts what they said in the article. In fact, it completely contradicts it when they said, quote, CNN reserves the right to publish his identity. That is a threat of doxing, by the way, should any of that change. What are they talking about when they say, should any of that change? They're talking about, quote, his ugly behavior on social media.
That's right. You better be a good boy forever. We're watching you. We're controlling your political speech, and we'll burn you and make you lose your job if you don't play ball. That's called racketeering. That's called extortion. That's called intimidation. What's the state law in New York has another name, coercion. I mean, they are involved in serious gangsta activity, Paul.
But it wasn't just coercion against him. It was a message to others. I mean, let's boil it down. He's essentially being threatened with doxing because he made fun of CNN. CNN has turned its $1 billion worth of resources against one anonymous individual for making a meme.
Do they not understand that people hate seeing little people being attacked, Paul? The cardinal rule here at our office is do your research, have the facts, try to report with other documentation that corroborates, talk to the witnesses, and never attack little people. Leanne, let's go to Leanne for a few final comments, and I'm going to get out of here and let you take over, Paul, because I can tell you're wound up, the great Paul Watson. But I do want to ask you one more question before we leave. Leanne, your final comments here. It's always awesome to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Well, right. And that's what's so important here that people need to understand is they're trying to make the case that it's okay to dox and attack a private citizen when you're right. That is the cardinal rule for us at InfoWars. We don't go after the little guy. They're not our enemy. We're not dealing with them. Now CNN has taken their entire $1 billion empire and is targeting private citizens to send a chilling effect to everyone else on the internet that might dare post content that CNN finds questionable. Paul has reported about this internet ID in depth, letting people know that this is what's coming, this China internet ID policy. And now CNN is basically trying to get the American people to go along with setting something up like this, where we can do away with anonymity on the internet if they're racist and bigoted, and they should have their lives destroyed if the gatekeepers decide that they're posting content that they don't like. And that is chilling.
Well, Leanne, thank you so much for joining us. You've made the best points here today. And tell folks how they can, I guess for now, They just censored the term, as Paul pointed out, CNN blackmail off of Twitter. How folks follow you on Twitter?
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also leannemcadoo.com. It's all right there under Leanne McAdoo.
All right, she's going to be launching her own show very, very soon. We're working with her to do that. Thank you, Leanne.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Very exciting. Paul, I'm going to hand this over to you, but I always enjoy talking to you. I always enjoy watching your work. Let me just ask you this question. What is your favorite of the compilation of memes we've put out that we're running for TV viewers right now without audio? I like Trump as the dragon in Mortal Kombat biting the head off of CNN. I mean, it's a video game. It's a joke. It's fun. They're the one that have their, you know, their listeners out actually shooting congressmen. Or is it the Muhammad Ali because he's defensively moving out of all their blows? What's your favorite?
I like the first one that you mentioned. I think the one that was posted about an hour ago. There's actually one, just an image with the tanks from Tiananmen Square with CNN on the front of them facing up to the guy with a Reddit logo, which is, I made that one, so that's my favorite, but they're all great.
Done well.
People are suggesting, yeah, that's the one I made. People are saying we should have a contest for the best CNN meme. But,
no, I agree, because I've only paid out $20,000. I've only paid out $20,000. And I have a great crew. Maybe you should manage it because so much comes in and then we got to pay it out. You just tell us who to pay, Paul. Maybe you want to manage it. You're so good at juggling 100 things. I'll give you more work than your brother Steve, who works with you. Yes, I want to pay the other 180 out on anybody that follows the other rules. CNN's fake, CNN's terrorist, which has been picked up in the larger meme. But yeah, absolutely. Whoever's got the best meme out of the 180,000 that's left, whoever does the best meme by next week, by next Wednesday, that has Infowars.com included, will get $20,000. Plus, we'll post a lot of the better memes on Infowars.com and on our Twitter and Facebook. How's that sound, Paul? Would you like the honcho? Just that part of it. And then how do folks contact you? I guess you can get into our email at contest@Infowars.com. And will you handle that $20,000 chunk?
Yeah, I can do that. Of course, it's key to put Infowars.com on there because there are so many memes. There's probably 1,000 memes within the past few hours. It has to have Infowars.com on the meme so we know that it's an original meme for the contest.
That's right. And you can retool or make a meme documentary. This is the meme wars of the news wars of the Infowars. Now, Paul Watson, lastly, I'm going to let you take over here. What about Macron announcing I'm going to be like Jupiter, or that's Zeus in Greek, the God Emperor, and will rule, and I'm going to forcibly inoculate all children, and we're going to bring more Muslims in, and we're going to do whatever we want. This literally the child sex toy of the elite. You cannot make up the magnitude of this. I mean, have you seen the photo of him on the royal throne? We'll try to put that back up on screen for TV viewers. I mean, what in Hades is going on here?
Well, he's a sociopath, Alex. Top psychiatrists have come out, and we've written about it and said, this guy's a sociopath. He's another elitist. None of them have had children. None of them have any empathy. They think they can rule over us. They're completely narcissistic, especially in his case. He got with it this grandma of a wife simply for power. He's a sociopath. That's why he rose to the top. To be successful in politics, with very few exceptions, you at least have to be an egomaniac, or you have to be a complete sociopath, and that's what he is. So
and speaking of that, Nikki Haley just started speaking live at the United Nations, the U.S. ambassador to the UN on the deepening North Korea crisis. We're skipping this break, so Paul has more time. Here is a few minutes of her live announcement.
It's a dark day. It is a dark day because yesterday's actions by North Korea made the world a more dangerous place. Their illegal missile launch was not only dangerous, but reckless and irresponsible. It showed that North Korea does not want to be part of a peaceful world. They have cast a dark shadow of conflict on all nations that strive for peace. Yesterday's act came from the same vicious dictator who sent a young college student back home to his parents, unresponsive and in a coma. For Americans, the true nature of the North Korean regime was painfully brought home with the images of two guards holding Otto Warmbier up as they transported him from a prison he should never have been in. Otto Warmbier is but one person out of millions who have been killed, tortured, or deprived of their human rights by the North Korean regime. To Americans, the death of one innocent person can be as powerful as the death of millions. Because all men and women are created in God's image, depravity toward one is a sure sign of willingness to do much more harm. The nature of the North Korean regime is clear. Only the scale of the damage it does could become different. That's why yesterday's escalation is so alarming. If North Korea will treat an innocent young student the way it treated Otto Warmbier, we should not be surprised if it acts barbarically on a larger scale. The United States does not seek conflict. In fact, we seek to avoid it. We seek only the peaceful denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and an end to the threatening actions by North Korea. Regrettably, we're witnessing just the opposite. Make no mistake, North Korea's launch of an ICBM is a clear and sharp military escalation.
Well, they aimed it at Japan. That's
the North
issue.
Korean regime openly states that its missiles are intended to deliver nuclear weapons to strike cities in the United States, South Korea, and Japan. And now it has greater capacity to do so. In truth, it is not only the United States and our allies that are threatened. North Korea's destabilizing escalation is a threat to all
She's going
nations
to call for sanctions.
in the region.
He's
and
definitely
beyond.
rogue now.
Their
Not controlled by
actions are
China.
quickly closing off the possibility
We
of a
see Russia for the
diplomatic
first time
solution.
start threatening him back.
The United States is prepared to use the full range of our capabilities to defend ourselves
This is coming to a
and
head.
our allies. One of our capabilities lies with our considerable military forces. We will use them if we must, but we prefer not to have to go in that direction. We have other methods of addressing those who threaten us and of addressing those who supply the threats. We have great capabilities in the area of trade. President Trump has spoken
They
repeatedly
don't care.
about
They just
this.
starve more people to
I
death.
spoke with him at length about it this morning. There are countries that are allowing, even encouraging, trade with North Korea in
All right, that's enough.
violation-
Paul can cover it once the statement's done. We know what's coming out of this. The issue is Trump has said the order of strategic patience is over. The Clintons gave him the reactors, the missiles. Why did the elites do this? Where does Paul Watson think this is going? Paul, take over. Great job. Paul of Prison Planet. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Yeah, an interesting sidebar on that was a poll that I ran yesterday. And it's very different from the Syria situation with North Korea, of course. Nikki Haley is absolutely dreadful on Syria. Last week, she was talking about if there's any chemical weapons attack, we will blame it on Assad, even though the evidence for the previous one was dodgy, to say the least. She's terrible on Syria. It was good of her to mention Otto Warmbier. Remember, he was made fun of. He was mocked after he died and before he died by leftists, saying his white privilege was what got him in that horrible situation as a prisoner in North Korea. But the poll I ran, if Trump launched a military strike on North Korea, would you support it? Now, if you're talking about Syria, that was 50% or less would support it. In the case of North Korea, 65% said yes. And 29,000 people voted, by the way, almost all of whom are going to be Trump supporters. So that is a large sample. 65% said yes, they would support a military strike on North Korea. 35% said no. So there is more support for a strike on North Korea than Syria. So it would be less controversial amongst Trump's base, which we know was a huge issue last time around with the entanglement with Syria back in April. So we'll continue to watch that and developments with North Korea. Going back to CNN, of course, the whole issue with this is that CNN used its resources as a huge news organization, a more popular news organization, especially since the election. Their ratings have gone up, although they've gone down 20% in June. But they used the mechanism of their resources not to go after ISIS hate preachers who spread propaganda on the internet, who radicalize actual terrorists, who celebrate terrorist attacks, not to go after members of Antifa who physically, violently attack Trump supporters on a regular basis while wearing masks to hide their identity.
And shoot random cops in the back of the head. 2 more this week.
Exactly, Alex, and I'm going to get to that. That was politically motivated. I actually found his Facebook page before anyone else, and it was as you would expect, so I'm going to get onto that. But they don't use their vast resources to go after these people. You had a professor wearing a mask, he was unidentified, smash a Trump supporter on the head with a bike lock. He went unidentified until 4chan did the law enforcement job for them. He was identified. CNN has never been interested in identifying any of those people. As soon as one guy on Reddit makes a joke meme targeting CNN, they go after him with the full force, and they claim like they have the moral high ground. That's what really gets me. Every time they claim they have the moral high ground, they threaten to dox him, to reveal his identity. They say, oh, he apologized. Look at the tweet. KACZYNSKI, Andrew KACZYNSKI, he did the story for CNN, threatening to identify this individual. His original tweet said that this individual who created the Trump WWE meme, or at least they said he did, turns out that's not even true, quote, came out after CNN identified and reached out to him. So they're saying he apologized after CNN identified him and threatened to reveal his identity. As soon as that was pointed out to CNN's Andrew KACZYNSKI, he suddenly changed his statement altogether and said that the individual responsible for the tweet had already apologized before CNN contacted him. So again, completely
I think it's a nom de plume. My instinct tells me the whole thing's fake. They thought they couldn't find out who it was, so they just made it up.
And don't forget, Alex, that this KACZYNSKI guy is kind of funny because he's one of the originators of Twitter outrage culture. He destroyed Justine Sacco, completely destroyed her life. This was the woman who went on a holiday to South Africa, made a joke about getting AIDS. She wouldn't get AIDS because she was white. She had white privilege. She was actually a leftist. It was actually an anti-racist joke.
Or she's being anti-white.
Yeah, but he completely destroyed her life. Her life was ruined as a result of this mob outrage, which was originated.
And that's why CNN has hired him to teach them how to be better bullies. And they were very, very excited. What's Humpty Dumpty's name? The little peg tooth guy that looks like has a neurological disorder. I'm sad for him. The CNN host. Humpty Dumpty looks just like absolutely like he's licking his lips when he talks about going after people.
No, I mean, that's exactly it. It's the relish. And in fact, they were laughing about it on New Day with Chris Cuomo earlier today. And we're going to play the clip. They were salivating. They were saying, oh, it's so remarkable that we were able to identify.
Oh, we're so powerful.
Yeah,
we were able to bully our gnome de plume. We were able to bully our gnome de plume.
It was completely blowing up in their face at the same time. Oh, but Chris Cuomo on CNN said that he should be identified, or at least he tweeted. He later deleted the tweet asking, should CNN reveal the name of the Reddit user who made Trump's wrestling video? Had a lot of bigoted and hateful material on page and website. So that's CNN literally acting as thought police. If you've posted anything dodgy on the internet in the past, they're coming after you because they're the new thought police. They're the new arbiters of absolute truth. That is sinister.
But isn't this meme storm, Paul?
Kind of resources would do that.
I can't help it. I'm sitting there watching and having to jump in. It's to create my own TV radio show, and I'm like taking it over from my amazing host. I'm asking you, bigger than a tweet storm or a meme storm or a meme war, isn't this really hurting them? And then I'm out of here. I'm getting out of the chair.
Well, it's hurt them since June, of course. They had a huge rating spike during the election because they were feeding off Trump. We had the O'Keefe tapes where the producer admits, yeah, it's all for ratings. The Trump-Russia collusion's all crap. Oh, by the way, there's a new story, Alex, about them investigating far-right websites linked with Russia. That's how we know for sure the Trump-Russia collusion story is absolute crap, because we've never had any kind of contact with any Russian government source whatsoever, but that's bubbling up to the surface again. But I mean, in the microcosm of Twitter, and this is what we have to remember, the vast majority of dumb leftists and CNN loyalists will not even find out about this. CNN's not talking about it on their front page. So it's whether it can break outside the relatively small echo chamber of Twitter, where it's been trending for almost, 24 hours now until they took it down. They took it out of the trending list. Can it break out of that? Will it get more attention from the rest of the media? That remains to be seen. Certainly, if it turns out that this guy they identified, this poor individual, is not even the originator of the tweet, that is going to increase the embarrassment. But it's the very notion of CNN saying, this user posted bigoted and racist memes in the past. Should we identify him? Should we dox him? Should we reveal his identity? That is completely sinister. They were caught. They came out with this ridiculous PR statement saying CNN decided not to publish the name of the Reddit user out of concern for his safety, completely contradicting the threat, the implicit threat that if he changed his behavior back to his bad old ways of posting anti-CNN memes, they reserved the right to reveal his identity. Completely contradicted themselves. Again, the writer KACZYNSKI said originally that this meme creator only came out after CNN reached out to him. His apology was after that. He then had to backtrack that. This is the guy who's destroyed people's lives in the past with ginned up outrage on Twitter. He's an expert at that. Kind of blowing back in his face today, which is interesting. But again, this is completely sinister.
The empire's on the run.